Hi, this is Todd Marks, founder and CEO of Mindgrub Technologies, coming to you from EduWeb in Philadelphia. And I'm here today with Brian Piper from the University of Rochester. And Brian, what do you do for the University of Rochester?
I'm the Director of Content Strategy and Assessment, so I spend most of my time looking at our content performance analytics, figuring out what content's working and what isn't, and what we should be doing to make sure we're reaching all of our audiences.
And that's from a prospecting student perspective or content in the classroom as well?
So primarily I work in marketing and communications. So we do all the marketing. We work with our admissions office, with our advancement teams, and really we work across the entire institution. We have a business school, a music school, a medical institution. So, we're working with all of those different groups, trying to make sure that all of their communication is strategic and aligned and speaking with the same voice.
Oh, that's great. And you wrote a book about content marketing too.
I did. I co-authored the second edition of Epic Content Marketing with Joe Polizzi, and my new book is coming out in the next couple of weeks. It's Epic Content Marketing for Higher Ed.
So do any of those books cover the topic of AI?
They both include sections about AI. Yes, absolutely.
And the third series is going to be entirely about AI.
Of course, absolutely.
So how are you currently using AI?
We're really integrating it into all of our content processes, from ideation to creation to distribution and optimization.
And in any case, do you have AI that you let just automate things and you sit back and it just runs a process for you?
Nothing.
Or as an editor, you're really using it to help ideate, as you said, help produce some content, but ultimately your humans are kind of gating that content.
Yeah, and the humans are really creating the content. So right now we're using it for ideation, for inspiration, for brainstorming, making sure that we're understanding the perspectives of our students or whoever our audiences are for those particular pieces of content. And then it goes to our content creators, content officers, and our editors who are utilizing AI within those processes to review the content, after they're done with their processes, they'll run it through the AI to look for more ideas. And then we're using it to help us repurpose and redistribute our content on other channels, possibly for other audiences. So it's kind of helping us with that. And then it's helping us really most impactfully with looking at our data, analyzing the data, making sure that we're putting out more of the right kind of content for the right audiences.
Oh, that's wonderful. What LLMs are you using?
So we're using a variety of different LLMs based on the process that we're doing. So we're using ChatGPT, Claude, Hyperwrite, and Gemini. All
the major providers.
All the major ones, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have a preference?
I prefer ChatGPT only for the custom GPTs. So we have a variety of different custom GPTs we've created for specific purposes.
So you have the 4.0 now. You have the paid license of ChatGPT.
We do. Within our Marcom AI committee, we have a group of people that are all working within the team environment, and we're sharing and creating custom GPTs to test out for different use cases.
That's amazing. Do you think because University of Rochester is, Rochester in general is a very technical town, right? Obviously, Xerox and Kodak had, histories there. Do you think that's making you use AI that much more? And you're the first educator that I've heard that you're like, oh, well, we make, custom models on top of ChatGPT, right? Like our CTO does that, our VP of engineering does that, right? And he provides it for us, but I haven't heard of people in academia really using that other than maybe R&D, but, not in production. Do you think it's because it's a technical town that you guys are a little bit more apt to do these sort of things?
I think there are pockets within the institution. Our institution's been, doing AI research for years before generative AI really kind of hit the scene. So now we're able to lean into the generative AI. And we know from an academic standpoint that our students are going to need this when they go into the workforce. Our business school is really leaning into this. They're creating curriculum around AI. They're integrating it into all of their class activities. So we're really leveraging all of those, insights from across the institution to figure out how we can pick up. The application is different for them, but the principles are the same. They're coming up with a virtual TA that they could use for their classes. So if their regular TA or the professor isn't available, they can go ask this virtual TA questions. So we kind of took that and said, well, what if we created virtual personas? So now if don't have time or resources to run a focus group, we can create these personas and we can ask those questions. Do you like this piece of content? What else should be included? How do we compare against our competitors for this particular web page? So that's been working out very well for us.
I mean, that's amazing. We were talking to an Ivy School professor, and they're like, we absolutely don't do AI. You know, we still send our kids to the library, right? And, you know, they're going to have, well, not even a Kodak moment, right? You were talking about the business school, and Kodak actually invented digital film.
Yeah.
They invented it. And then their team said, but we're not going to use it because 35 millimeters is the way the world works, right?
We'll never replace film.
Never replace film.
Look at it now.
Right? And now, right, they missed the boat on that. So it's actually encouraging that, you know, University of Rochester in Rochester, where Kodak invented, you know, digital film, but refused to use it, right? You guys aren't going to have that Kodak moment. It sounds like you're on top of AI and actually starting to lead the charge.
We're trying to do that. I mean, there are pockets within the institution that recognize that it is going to change things. It is here. We can't put the genie back in the bottle.
You got it.
It's time to embrace it and figure out how we can integrate it into all of our processes, because it's going to change everything from the education side to the administrative side to the clinical and the research sides. Everyone's going to have to figure out how to integrate this into all of their workflows.
Are there any holdouts? Are there any, like, you know, schools within the school that are like, yeah, no, we don't do AI?
We have pockets of people who are resistant to change. Individuals. Yeah. I haven't seen any schools or heard of anyone that is just categorically denying the existence of AI or the importance of AI. But there are people that are, you know, very nervous, obviously, about the data, the security, but the only way to combat that is through training and awareness and education.
As they should be. So what do you think is next with AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think currently we're in the phase where we can start using AI to automate some of the repetitive work that we do, that we don't want to do anyway. So it's great for that. It's great for analyzing data. I think the next step is really going to be the AI agents, when they're actually able to work across browsers, across tools, and do a lot of the tasks that require some sort of decision-making, some sort of value judgment. So we can train those models on how we make those decisions and what we think about when we're creating those actions. And then it will be able to run through that process, and based on how much flexibility and freedom we give the tool, or how much access we give the tool, it's going to be able to create operations and processes that are going to completely impact our workflow and take a lot of the work off of our plate that we don't need to be doing anyway. We can spend our time doing the more creative, more strategic, more insightful work that these tools really can't do yet.
So you got that absolutely right. I was at a conference and I had this story that evolved. In 2005, I created this framework called Via Place, and it delivers information based on where you are. And so in the beginning, I talked about, as a frequent traveler, you roll into the airport, you have to find an empty parking spot. You got to know your plane's on time, where your gate is, where the Starbucks is to get your coffee, right? There's a lot of location-based information. Now, as that story evolved, then I started talking about AI, and I started talking about, you know, autonomous vehicles. And so your car is out front of your house and it's honking at you because it knows you need to get to the airport. Your guide on the side, which is your mobile device, is keeping track of your plane, if it's on time or not. Your car drives you to the airport. And at that point in the story, I said, and your car interfaces with the parking garage API to find the closest parking spot to your gate. Your mobile device then kicks in and gives you walking directions to your gate. It works with Starbucks API, pre-orders your coffee. So knowing your accelerometer, it picks the exact perfect time that they shout, hey, Todd, here's your coffee. You swipe it off the counter, you go to your gate, right? And a woman in the audience says, I got a problem with your story. I'm like, what's the problem? She goes, okay, you said that you had an autonomous vehicle. So why is it going to go park? Wouldn't it just go home? I'm like, you just updated my story. It wouldn't go park in the garage. You don't even need the parking garage. They actually say by 2025, the amount of surface lots and parking garages are going to diminish over time, because cars can just go back to work. They can drive you, then they can drive your neighbor, right? And so Uber actually has a program now that's moving into self-driving vehicles. So not only your own car you get paid, it'll monetize your self-driving vehicle when you're not the driver.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And that's AI, right? With computer vision.
Right.
So there's a lot of next steps for AI that is just super exciting. Brian, I'm excited to hear all the ways you're using AI, particularly as a content publisher, where I've heard some resistance there. It seems like you guys are all in. Any parting thought on AI? Like 5 years from now, how does your team look as far as AI? Is it the same human capital that you have now, but what are they going to be doing with their time versus what they do now?
Well, and I think when we talk about AI, we have to look, like you said, at other technologies that are evolving as well. I mean, augmented reality, robotics, those are also going to have a huge impact on our workforce and what we need to do. I think we're going to be working in a much more virtual environment. I don't know that we're going to need as many physical spaces as we have. We're still going to need to get together for the human connections, for the interactions. But I think a lot of what we think of today as our job responsibilities are going to completely shift. I think 5 years is so far out with the way these technologies are changing. We can't even begin to foresee what the capabilities are going to be in that time period. But yeah, I think we're going to have to really rethink the roles of people within the teams and think of how to leverage the human capital better, because the machines are going to be doing a lot of the tasks that we are currently doing. So we're going to have to think about where it's integral to have a human in the loop and where you can have the machines take over all the things that we don't want to be doing or that we shouldn't be doing, so we can spend our time doing what we really should be focusing on.
Right. Like ordering your Starbucks.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us here. I'm very pleased at what you're doing with AI. And this is Todd Marks and Brian coming to you from EduWeb in Philly.
Thanks.
Thank you.